Bunnies, do you know how you guys always tell me when I come on live stream? You guys tell me that my smile makes you want to smile. And you guys always tell me that I have a pure soul. Huh? Do you know how you guys always tell me that? That is exactly how we used to look at Trey Songz. That is exactly how we used to look at him when we were younger. Doesn't his smile make you want to smile? Do you see why it was so easy for us to see him as a symbol of hope? Do you see why I'm crying for his true heart and mind in the music? This is what we know him to be, okay? This is what he's giving us. Now, do you see why I'm concerned? Do you see why? Bunnies. I ate my KFC. I'm sweating through my underwear, boy, because it's so hot in Africa. But I have to do this video. And I have to tell you that Party Trey Simulation Songs is killing us. Party Trey is killing us. There is too much that we need from him, and there is too much for him to take from this musical experience for him to be in the matrix and choosing to be the auto-tune alcohol hero and choosing to be Trey Songz, and he's missing out because of these choices. Okay, we're gonna go through it now. This article is from my blog and it's called Trey Songz, the Auto-Tune Alcohol Hero versus the Pioneer Prince of VA. Right? I'll leave the link in the description box for you. And my blog is called Styla Soundz. Alright. So this picture is from his latest musical offering. Okay. It's from one of his videos. And this is what he posted. Okay. And I feel like this is true for where we are in the music now. Okay. So the auto-tune alcohol hero is him in the matrix. It's Trey Songz. It's the frog. And the other side, the right side, is the pioneering musician that we need. The anti-matrix Trey. The actual Trey Songz. The innovative Trey. The trailblazing chain breaker Trey. Alright? So visually, this is how I feel it is. This is what I feel it is visually. Okay? The frog and the prince. The frog and the prince. Okay? Let me explain myself. And I am extremely concerned and explain my concern. I'm concerned for the musician and his well-being. I'm concerned for the music, for his OG fans who need real things from him, and for his original dream. I feel like Hollywood Trey swallowed Trey from the hood. Because everything is matrix now, alright? It's illusions and confusions. And the thing is that concerning his well-being, no one wants to see him like this. Not after all he's overcome to achieve the impossible in his own life and inspire us to reach for a dream too, to find a dream in the first place and pursue that dream, right? And he can't give up on us now. He cannot stay in the matrix now, right? And I explained here that he does this 1 foot in and 1 foot out thing, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You cannot be multiple people that are contradictory to each other and exist like that in the music. It's causing confusion, right? You cannot be both the frog and the prince. He cannot live as a contradiction. He must be one person. So he has to pick a choice, right? The frog is this gutter snipe, mediocre and ungrateful musician. And as a fan, this is grossly unappealing. As someone who looks at Trey as a role model, this degradation is completely unnecessary and it is very concerning. It's very concerning. And the thing is, he's comfortable being suspended in the matrix. He's not looking for help. He's not looking for the light. He's not looking for growth as a musician. He's not looking to be inspired. He's not talking to us who see him as a role model. He is not solving any problem. He's not shining the way he's supposed to and the way we need him to. He's just there. He's just there in the matrix. Being Party Trey, being Simulation Songz, being Sinister Songz, being Trey Wrongs, being the frog that is self-focused in his music, 100% self-focused, by the way, talking about panties, parties, and his own emotional confusion with fragmented sounds, not pure sounds that he used to give us, fragmented sounds, and no clear direction. Right? So I said the frog is the blue pill option in this matrix. The frog is Trey Wrongs. Okay? And I feel like this is just how I feel. In terms of him being the prince, I feel like he was always hungry for realness and pureness, but he denies himself the help he knows he needs. Growth must happen. But when he chooses to be the frog, it keeps him stunted. It keeps him stunted. And I even said here, I don't know what to write about the prince other than majestic musical products come from here. Well-intentioned, listener-focused, pure professional musicianship with grand vocal displays and pioneering sounds come from the prince. Comes from the prince. And I don't know what else to write about the pioneer prince of VA, because we haven't seen him for so long, because he's been in the matrix for so long. And I said the prince is the red pill option in this matrix. The prince is Trigger. The prince is the prince of VA. The prince is the real Trey Songz. The prince sees real life and the frog doesn't. And what I mean is that there hasn't been clear definition to what he is. He hasn't chosen a place to exist, the mud or the palace. And he didn't stay in either one. He goes back and forth. But obviously recently he stays in the mud for longer periods of time. And he finds it more and more difficult to get out of the mud, yet alone reach the palace and bring any sort of meteoric light to music the way he used to want to do. And actually did. And no one wants to see him in the mud. Bruv. No one wants to see him in the mud. Okay? And I even said, we are so hopeful and we have a striking anticipation that the prince will miss home. He'll miss pure sounds, listener-focused lyrics. He'll miss his pioneering attitude. He'll miss the meteoric light he used to bring to music. And he'll choose to be who he actually is before he put on the costume of a frog. And he'll choose the throne and palace again. We hope he finally realizes that there was never anything for him in the mud. It just drives him backwards. It drives him backwards. It puts the music in a very bad place. Okay? It puts the music in a very bad place. There was never anything for him in the mud. It doesn't benefit him. We need back his inclination towards pure sounds, his unconventional innovativeness, and his original and distinct voice, which was always enough for us and for him. His anti-matrix attitude, Trey from the hood, will always be in demand. These other Treys, Hollywood Trey, Party Trey, Sexual Trey, Alcohol Trey, Sinister Songz, Simulation Songz, The Frog, the devolving Trey Wrongs, the one-dimensional pin-up party boy, broke our hearts. It's the opposite of in demand. And I said the frog is not helpful. Not even to himself. Okay? The frog misses the essence of humanity in what it gives. It doesn't see real life. It doesn't see real life. It's very strange for a person with a soul voice to not have anything substantial to say in their music. It's very strange. It's very strange. Okay, I was crying some more here. All right. I was crying some more. But I'm saying that he cannot be both anymore. He cannot be in the mud and in the palace. He has to choose one. He proved whatever point he wanted to prove by being the frog and devolving. And it cost him. It cost him success. It cost him the eyes of the world because no one can see him when he's being the frog in the mud. It cost him our admiration. It cost him our disappointment. Our disappointment. So I'm saying, let's go the other way now. Let's go towards cleanliness in the music. Let's go towards excellence and light and the timeless elegance of what music is. Let's go that way now. Let's go that way. Okay. So the next point I made was about the frog, the mud, and the matrix, and I explained what that is. Okay. I'm not going to read all of it, but I explained what it is, so you can check it out on the blog. But I said here, Trey is a leader in music. He's never been a follower. Yet whatever he's doing now is follower behavior. And I said he's not an ordinary talent. His voice is too magnificent, too rare, the kind that appears only a handful of times in a lifetime for most of us. For most of us, it's genuinely once in a lifetime. Okay? The musicality he possesses is equally rare. And I'm telling you, I haven't heard a voice like this before. Okay? And I said, right now the world cannot see or hear him because he's trapped inside the musical matrix. If the world cannot see him or hear him, they cannot buy from him. At the same time, he's not giving his fans of the world the music they actually need. The impactful, innovative, beautiful, defined statements in the music. So they have no reason to pay attention to him. His true heart and mind is not in the music. Do you see the consequences of him staying in the matrix? Huh? Okay. So I explained what the frog is, the mud is, the matrix is, and those kinds of things. Okay. And I said, the music he's serving us now is 2% effort. Heavily haphazard, machine-driven, drenched in negativity and nonsense, stripped of the pureness that once made his voice and sounds so magnetic. I said the problems that I have with the music, right? I said the visuals in his latest project is steeped in depression, dark, joyless frames that show a man who no longer seems to have any joy for music. No one wants to see Trey Songz like this. No one. There is an urgent concern. And as an OG fan, I'm genuinely worried about him. It's time for him to come out of the matrix, get the help that he needs, leave the depression behind, and remember who he really is. The Prince of VA, the anointed hair of Aretha, the true musician that was born to shine. And I said how much we believe in him. We believe in him. And I said he already proved that he could escape the matrix from the hood to Hollywood. He did it with heart, with his raw self, with his pure self, right? He didn't do it with superficiality, with vanities, with party Trey, with this Hollywood Trey. He didn't do it with that. He did it with who he originally is. And I know and I remember he wanted to be a voice of substance, not just another entertainer or performer that is obsessed with vibes that make uninspiring, heartless, convoluted noise. And the world is still waiting for that version of him. They just don't know it. Because everybody gave up on him and no one is pressing in this area. No one is putting pressure on him to get the help he needs to be the greatest musician of our time, which he is. And no one is doing that besides me now. And I know the OG fans are grateful and supportive of me doing this because they feel the same. They just don't have the time to come on the internet and express it. They don't have the time to sit and see what the problems actually are, okay? And I'm extremely grateful to God that He afforded me the time and the expertise, and God shined light in this area so we can actually see what's going on, because Trey is still in demand. The real Trey. Not this version of Trey. Not Trey Wrongs. Okay? Okay. And I'm giving encouragement here because we need him in the music, right? And I said the pioneer Prince of VA was pure. And I reminded you who he is. Right? And I said he was a classy hood dude. Someone we genuinely look up to as a role model. Genuinely. And I said how anti-matrix he was. And I gave you personal stories. I gave you some personal nuance here. But we have to solve these problems now, okay? We can't be continuing with this as he is. We need him to grow, right? And I said I have nothing but love for Dr. Taylor and Mr. Songz. I don't have antagonism, right? And as a fan, I'm fighting on the internet for him to repair the fragmentation that existed since 2017. And I said I love them and I want them to grow and be more successful. Obviously, it's not just Dr. Taylor and Mr. Songz. It's other people that are writing, that are working with the music, and whoever is cooking the music for us, right? It includes all of them too. But I said that these are the overarching problems, okay? And this is just 3 major problems, but I have a blog post coming up where I detail almost every single problem, and I give the solution, because we are problem solvers, right? We are solution focused individuals, and I can't just talk about the problems without giving solutions, right? So the first problem, it's not really a problem, it's just an observation, and these are things I noticed from the My Moment episodes as a child, when I was a teenager, right? These are things that I noticed at that time. Trey has a rap and blues core musicianship. He writes his natural writing style. He writes for and about himself. Self. Naturally and only. So when he's not intentional about writing for the listener or talking to someone in the music, it only becomes self. Right? That's just how it is naturally. And it's beautiful. I appreciate it. But it doesn't work for a wider audience when it stays unrelatable or lacks a well-built story. Okay. His natural writing style is pure realism and pragmatism and his own perspective only. Which means it has limited appeal, limited relatability, and because of his blues inclination, he says things in ways that is difficult for people to understand. I don't know why blues singers are like this, but he says things in ways that people don't really understand, or you can't get the message out of it easily because he's very cryptic about things. And obviously that limits his relatability, and no one can connect because no one knows what he's saying, right? Right? And his approach to music is in the moment and self-focused. And there's no real musical strategy that he follows that benefits the fans, right? He writes from personal feelings and he states it, but he doesn't describe anything. He doesn't describe it or exploit in any way. He leans on this hip-hop mishmash sounds instead of intentional connection and making the sounds connect to the listener, right? He doesn't have that focus anymore. And because he's in the Matrix, he only talks about Matrix topics. Real people cannot relate to that. We cannot find value in that. And therefore, people cannot see or appreciate the magnificence of his voice. He's not showing off his voice. and he's not attempting to make music that connects because he's not intentional. Okay? He's not intentional. It's hot in Africa and I'm sweating through my underwear, boy. Okay. Okay. The next problem was the business strategy. He has a hustler's mind. I appreciate it and I'm grateful for it. But he didn't seem to lean into elevating his music and media career in a more scaled up fashion. He focused almost on transactions, concerts, royalties, and immediate cash, instead of globally dominating and expanding his musical footprint worldwide. You know, I always talk about how rare his musicality is and how talented and gifted he is. So you know he is very, very capable of doing this across multiple avenues of media if he simply stays focused on his career and the fans and what the fans need, right? Next is his eye for talent. Okay, I love Trey, alright, I love him, but he doesn't have an eye for talent. Okay? He doesn't have an eye for talent, and this costs him because he doesn't maneuver the business side to benefit himself by producing quality music with people who actually have talent and substance to them. Okay? And I said, like a personal observation, that he and Dr. Taylor have good hearts and they always want to help people, but the same people kick them in the end. And that's why I'd rather see them collaborate with real talent from VA and other places who respect what they've built, right? People who will appreciate and respect and give substance in the songs that is fan-focused and listener-focused, right? There was a discussion on Instagram where someone asked why musicians from VA keep helping other musicians instead of lifting people from VA who have talent. And I tried to explain my issue with this, and it seems other fans feel the same way. And I said Trey doesn't have eye for talent. I would much rather see people from VA that he puts on. And I said he gave the impression he wants to make music that changes people's lives when he first started, which is the reason I became a fan. But we don't have that music. Trey wants to stay in this matrix, and it truly breaks my heart. We looked up to him. Now it's all about self, even in the music. Not even us, the fans, right? And this is from Jay Carter Live, who posed a great question. This is a great question. He said, what does it have to do with today? Which means, which means that they're not seeing your impact in real time. They're not seeing your impact now, which is something we have to work on. Okay. And I'm being hard because we will never find a voice and musicality like this again in our lifetime. We will never find someone who brought meteoric light to our generation the way he has and the way he must again, right? When he's intentional, he's pioneering and innovative, and he's a chain breaker and a trailblazer. But when he's too relaxed and deep in the matrix like this, he gives nonsense and shows no desire to connect with us or grow or help truly talented musicians. And I said Tremaine sounds like a name that is a force, a striking rock. But now he chooses to just float in the muddy matrix where we cannot find him. Where are you? Where are you? Because we cannot find him. We cannot find him. Okay. And I said, next point, keep your word. Keep your word. We need Ubuntu back in the ecosystem. And obviously for me, life does not feel right without Pure Trey's music. I feel like there is a massive weight of his absence. The weightiness of his presence in music is not there. And that's why I always say I feel like I'm in an alternate reality. Because the massive weight of what he brings to music doesn't exist anymore. And it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. And we need him in the music. We need that weightiness that the entire ecosystem needs to be vibrant again, he needs to resurrect it and bring it back to life, right? Because life does not feel right without his without his musical offerings. And I said, we are the world. I'm mad at him. I'm sad for him. Sad for him at the same time. And I said, we are the world. We are the children. We deserve a healthy musician who makes quality, beautiful music that speaks to real things. Music for sensitive humans who still believe in feeling something beyond vibes. Vibes are not real. Okay? Vibes are not real. In his situation is what I mean. Vibes are not real in his situation because he's simulation songs. Okay. I said we cannot connect to the music anymore because he's no longer trying to connect with us. He is the one not trying to connect with us, real people. There's no sense of unity in this ecosystem or anything real that is compassionate, loving, nurturing, sweet, quality, or excellent. He is the one causing the division by being two completely opposing things at once. That's the fragmentation I was feeling. That is the fragmentation I was feeling, right? And I said he has to give us music that we can love on, support, and proudly share with the world. Music that is too beautiful to ignore, which he is so capable of doing, he just chooses not to, right? And I said, Trey, you cannot stay in the matrix and try to build a new audience of teens and early 20s on Twitch when it is so much easier to win back your original audience, capture the eyes of the world with quality music that actually applies to our lives, that is globally appealing and people around the world can relate to and love on, and music that can endure. And I said, we're in our late 20s and early 30s now. You are the one that is refusing to grow and become the musician we need you to be. The pioneering leader whose dream we all believed in. The one we expect to deliver music and an image that pushes boundaries instead of easy songs like Lit Again. Honestly, Trey can make 500 songs like that. Like his latest offerings. Like Give Me a Chance and Lit Again and stuff. He can make 500 songs like this because it's too easy for him. It's too easy. But it's still not the real music he once endeavored to make. It's still not the life-changing music. And he's too bright to still be making that kind of music and talking about matrix topics only. Party Trey is killing us. Party Trey is killing us. Okay. And I said we need a sober mind to make better decisions for his dreams and for our musical experience. And I said Trey Songz is wrecking everything. He's wrecking everything. Explain my frustration some more. I explain my frustration some more. Frustration. I explained my frustration some more. I said I was once so convinced that Trey was a real person. I looked up to him. But now nothing about what he is feels real anymore. That's why I call him Trey Songz, not Trey Songz. His true heart and mind are nowhere to be found. And the last time he felt fully in tune with us was at the Trigger album. We want to support him, but we cannot do that if he doesn't love the music or his own ecosystem. We cannot support him if he chooses to be the frog in the mud instead of the prince he was meant to be. And he is. That's who he really is. And I said the loneliness and depression we feel in his music right now is because he is still in the matrix. That's why I call it Autotune Alcohol Hero. Because these are the only topics being covered now. And I said, come out of the mud, brah. We're still here waiting for the real you. So the Matrix music now that he's making, he only talks about these things. Club, ladies, fornication, alcohol, getting money, personal feelings and emotions to a limited extent. He states it but doesn't explore it in the lyrics. There are no clear defining statements. He does not talk to us. He doesn't talk to anyone in the music, right? And I said he stays in contemporary R&B and this hip-hop thingy with machines and autotune. He doesn't give pure sounds. He doesn't give the trailblazing sounds anymore, right? This is what we're getting. Look at this. Look at this. Do you see the results of him choosing to be the frog? What we don't get is real human emotions, hope, inspiration, or anything valuable we can actually use. Things that can make people want to support the music, share it, find meaning in it, talk about it. Music that endures. Music that endures. Almost all of his albums, including Anticipation 2 and previously, Trigger album, even To Whom It May Concern, those are music that will endure. That is music that will endure. Sorry. That is music that will endure. PPP, Chapter 5, that's music that will endure. And to me, as a fan, there was a stark divide at the Tremaine album. Something happened at the Tremaine album, and it was like we entered an alternate reality at the Tremaine album. Okay, that's how I feel, because he was no longer on this trailblazing lane. He was on a different lane, and we couldn't recognize him, and we didn't know where he was going, because he was no longer on this trailblazing trail. You know? Anyway, that's just how I feel as a fan. But do you see the results of him choosing to be the frog? Do you see what we're getting here? No one wants this for him. No one wants him to be like this. Okay? No one wants him to be like this. This is how the music feels to us. To be honest, this is how the music feels to us, and we don't want this for him. We don't want this for the music, right? The music, maybe I just think that music is precious, and I expect musicians like Trey, who has exceptional musical abilities, who's gifted and talented in this area. I expect musicians like this to see music as precious too, and want to give their absolute best and pristine self to the creation of music. Maybe that's just what I expect, right? Because I see it that way. And maybe it's unfair, but I don't want him to be like this. This is not healthy. This is not self-love. This is him giving up on music and life. And I don't want him to give up on music and life. Okay? There is so much more we need from him. So he needs to get the help that he needs and come out of this, because there is a way out. There is a solution. He does not have to be stuck in this thing. Okay? He doesn't have to be stuck in the matrix. Okay? I was ranting and raving some more. I was ranting and raving, alright? You can read it on the article. But I went on. I said the frog refuses to grow as a musician. I'm saying he's betraying the collective dream because he refuses to grow and shine again. He can choose joy again. He can choose truth, pureness, and to step back into the light. He has a good thing, something truly special, and it just needs to come out of him once more without him shoving himself back into the mud and choosing the matrix over and over and over, and putting the music and putting us through this in the music, through the music. Yeah. Okay. So he can bring meteoric light to music the way he always has. This languishing, the self-imposed stuckness is unnecessary. No one should make a bed of depression and think that's what life is. It's for a season maybe, but we are meant to rise from it, find the light again, and not keep ourselves chained in the dark. Trey has always been a chain breaker. We need him to break this one now. And there's no reason for him to be comfortable in this distortion and contortion and matrix. And I said we still want the original Trey Songz. He's still in demand. He acts powerless, he acts helpless against the frog, but he can get up out of this mud easily. He doesn't have to succumb to the matrix. He's choosing this for no good reason. Okay. And I said, like, I'm not doing all of this, what I'm doing here, dissecting the problems and providing solutions, providing tangible, real, practical solutions. I'm not doing it for Trey wrongs or simulation songs, sinister songs, whatever other frog-like simulation versions of himself exist. I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for Trey Songz. I'm doing it for the pure pioneering Prince of VA. This is who I'm doing it for. Excuse me. This is who I'm doing it for. And I asked a question again. When will we see true joy and love from him in the music again? I'm not doing this for the frog. I'm not doing this for Trey wrongs. Okay, I'm not a fan of those Treys. I'm doing it for Trey Songz. And I said Depression Trey is destroying it all. Party Trey is killing us. He didn't go to Hollywood to cause problems for himself or for others. He went there to be a force, to enforce his own agenda. And that agenda never involved low-quality music or meaningless messages in his songs. And I said the Prince of VA is still needed. It's still needed. The next point I made was that the destruction needs to stop. It doesn't help anyone, right? And I explained about soul voices. I explained about the fact that no one wants to seem like this and there is help. You just have to choose help. That's it. And I was also ranting here, but the point I want to make here is and I said, let me bring my shambok again and strike on this one notable area of the music. And I said, he's still talking about panties and giving biological and mechanical descriptions of lovemaking only. I said, Mr. I'm Your Panty Wetter didn't read around the topic substantially enough to formulate illustrative descriptions of this explicitly explosive activity without the personalized, pragmatic, and blatant style of writing he seems to be stuck in. And I talked about Biggie and how Biggie had very descriptive writing in his lyrics, right? Okay. And I said, if we're talking about love making, let's have the metaphorical and poetic and romantic descriptions, which are beautiful and charming. But he can't stay with the same style of writing he has about love making, where it's clapper, clapper, clapper. That's it. And that's very annoying. It's very off-putting in the music. And that's not what real people in the real world want to hear, right? And I said he's too bright to be in any sort of matrix, even lyrically, when he's capable of writing substantial stories, writing poetically, creating new melodies. And he has a great command of the English language and its articulation. So it's not a skill issue, it's not a capability or insufficiency issue. It's not a comprehension issue. He's choosing it. He's choosing to degrade it all. Okay, so the major point that I wanted to make before I talked about the panties situation is that he could make allegories and metaphors of love making, which could be unique to him and his own signature lyrical style for a time in the pure R&B genre. I don't think I heard a monumental song in this lyrical category since Usher's Dive. And it's a great lane for him, because we haven't heard that from him before too much, besides on songs like Jupiter Love. Everything is like realism and practicality and romantic in a sense of very pragmatic romantic, right? We don't have allegories or metaphors or any sort of like beautiful writing in terms of lovemaking from him. And it could be a lane for him. It could be a lane. I haven't heard this in a long time, right? Since Usher's dive, I haven't heard this. And it's a great lane for him. Frankly, we all need reprieve from the ungentlemanly phrases of the frog. We need a break from the lyrics about lovemaking that is only clapper, 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 right? We need beautiful writing and sounds from him. And I said, put beauty into the world again. Again. And I mentioned the fact that he doesn't listen because so many people came before me and they told him the same things years ago to help him. Music journalists wrote to help him. And I am just the next one in line, right? I'm just the next one in line. I'm not even a music journalist, right? I'm just a strug life baby on the internet, okay? But music journalists came before me and told him the same things. They gave practical advice. Tyler Lewis gave him practical advice in his writing. It's just that Trey doesn't listen. Trey doesn't listen. And we're all trying to help him. We want him to grow as a musician, be an undeniable force in music and the world. Because Tyler Lewis, Poetic Expressions, Stereogum, had a publication about him too, where they recognize the gift and the talent and the rarity of it and how rare of a musician he is and what he has in his voice and with his musicality. And they all gave him advice and practical, tangible help, even though this was like 2009, 2010, right? Early on, they gave him advice. He just didn't listen. And now he has to listen to us. He really has to listen to us. Okay? We want him to grow as a musician and be that undeniable force in music. And he can be. So I listed the people who actually gave him this advice and stuff and practical help and talked about how amazing of a musician he is, how brilliant of a voice he has. And I linked it too. So you can go and check it out and see that what I'm saying, I'm not just making much ado about nothing. Like what I'm saying, even though I hear what I hear in his voice, right? People have documented it before. And this was like 2009. It is 2026 now, okay? He needs to listen. And I said he just doesn't listen. He stays suspended in this muddy matrix and doesn't seem to care about anything. Not even himself or the music. And I'm saying, where is he for real? I'm crying on the internet for music. Okay, and I said, start to care about the music again. We cannot eat this matrix music you're cooking for us. We want the beautiful music. And I'm trying to help us. And he's in real trouble. And we need him to implement the solutions. Okay. So the other problem is audience issue. He has the ability to transcend audiences because his voice is very appealing and beautiful, right? So this is what he should have been focusing on. This is the audience he should have been focusing on. And I documented it here, and you can go and read it. You can go and read it. I like talking about song concepts. And concepts for music. So I listed some of them here as well. But this is overarching audience issue. Okay, it was not clearly defined for him in the beginning because, frankly, he's a complicated musician and you can't figure out his musicality, right? Because he has so much, right? And I have a way forward that I'll post in future. But right now, I just wanted to talk about this and mention this. And tell you that this mishmash music he's making is keeping him trapped in the matrix. And there's no real audience for that besides the matrix people. Real people who appreciate music cannot appreciate this music and do not connect to this kind of music, right? And I said the lyrics and his image need to reflect this audience only. His media output should have reflected this audience. All of his work should be excellent and beautiful and for these people only. The people who actually appreciate music, right? And I mentioned T.I. The rapper. And I was just mentioning the strategy that he seems to want to use. But I said beautiful music stays in demand. Trey doesn't have to try to win over a new audience every few years. He has the ability to extract loyalty from his fans at any point of them joining his ecosystem. Simply because of his voice. When he dives into his expansive musicality and produces musical diamonds, the music will endure. It will endure. I said diamonds are valuable forever, relevant forever, applicable forever. It shines forever. But the music has to feel alive. It has to come from his true heart and mind. And I said previously that we can hear his emotions in his voice. His voice is beautiful and powerful. And once you hear his voice, you cannot not be a fan. It is impossible to not be a Trey Songz fan once you hear the quality of his voice. I said he pioneers in new genres. He has the ability to give us thrilling musical experiences within his ecosystem. And I said, why would a fan ever want to leave the ecosystem? If we're getting all of the things we need from him, right? I said, why is Trey not capitalizing on this by catering to his core audience and pioneering to expand his audience? He forfeits his core audience's loyalty to annoy, frustrate, and antagonize us instead. And I said he can keep a core audience from the quality of his voice alone. I said it's easier to keep money in your pocket than hunt for a new audience every few years and labor to restart on new social media platforms instead of optimizing what you already have. This Matrix music is not evergreen. It's for a time, and it will be worn out. But the real music has the ability to endure. Songs where he uses his voice in dynamic ways with globally appealing themes and definitive statements will endure and endure and endure without being worn out. 100 years from now, people will benefit from the music if it endures. If he makes the music that will endure. 100 years from now, people will listen to this music and be helped, be inspired, and all of the things. But this Matrix music doesn't help anyone. It doesn't change anyone's life. It doesn't. It doesn't. Okay? And I talked about the lyrics that we want in the music. Okay? I talked about the lyrics that we want. And we're really missing out. We're really missing out on beautiful music. And he's missing out on accolades, recognition, wealth, the eyes of the world, the ears of the world, and growing his business. And I said the dream we believed in is still waiting. It's still waiting. Like the dream is still waiting. It's just him. Staying in the bed of languishing and being something he is not. Being the frog when he is the prince. Okay. But these are just extra thoughts. I told you it may not be applicable right now. In terms of audience and strategy, because he needs immediate intervention, which I'm going to give. Obviously, I'm going to give that. Because there's only one way forward for him. And I kind of figured it out. So the world can see him again. And I'll put it down and I'll make a video about it. I'll put it on the blog and stuff. Right? I'm still, I'm still dwelling on it. I'm still thinking about it. But I know there's only one way forward for him now, right? I said being the frog has consequences. Him being ignorant has consequences. I said he wants to be the frog, a goofball that no one can take seriously, the greatest musician of our time that no one can actually see. I said he is a self-imposed optical illusion. He was meant to be shining more and more. He wasn't meant to be giving us sorrow in the music, and sorrow with his image now, and sorrow about his well-being, right? We need to see his deliberate climb into musical adulthood, where, though his voice deepens, the themes mature, and his presence becomes heavier and weightier with meaning and maturity. This thing of throwing himself into the mud and cosplaying unseriousness, as if dignity is some kind of creative prison, is far from his original musical truth. It's like I'm watching this impactful gift being actively mishandled in real time. Okay? And it's sad. It's really sad. It breaks my heart. I said right now what we are witnessing with him is a needless erosion of essence and pureness. It's careless. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. Okay. He doesn't seem to care about fans anymore or himself. And I said the frog doesn't seem to like accountability. The frog can always hide behind I'm just having fun, or it's for the vibes, or whatever low-level explanation he gives for choosing to be Trey Songz instead of the prince he actually is. Okay. We are beyond vibes. We are beyond goofy. We are beyond a musician that hides behind unseriousness, so he never has to confront his own potential or take any kind of responsibility for the matrix music he gives us now. And I give you 2 articles here to tell you about musician health and wellness, to tell you about how alcohol and drugs affect your voice. So you can go through those and see that I'm like extremely concerned, right? I said the Prince of VA needs to slay the Autotune alcohol hero. And I talked about health. And I said, what is the point of looking for you on the internet if you're giving us the exact same thing we get where we're from? I can go outside to see the things that he does. I don't need to come to Trey Songz pages to see this. I can go outside and see this. Because I hold him to high standards in music, and obviously like the person is the role model. So I expect him to role model for us healthy behaviors and healthy things. And I said you are not boxable musically. God put too much talent in you for that. Not to mention the rare voice you have and what it can do. And I explained we need definition and direction. Revive the vision you had for yourself 20 years ago. If he doesn't, he'll stay in this confusion and we cannot support him. No more 1 foot in and 1 foot out. No more. And I said a choice has to be made. He either chooses the high road or the low road. And we cannot follow him if he chooses the low road. He can go all in on his dream, or he can stay in the matrix and we'll forget about Trey Songz. Not out of spite, not out of hate, but out of exhaustion. Because fans can only beg someone to save themselves for so long. So let me say exactly what it is. He's standing at a crossroads again. In 2009 or 2010, Tyler Lewis wrote that he was at a crossroad. And now again, 2026, I'm saying he's in a crossroad. But this time it's more detrimental and his decision is more impactful and his decision carries more weight. Because it's not just about music, it's about his own success, right? And his well-being as well, right? I said, one side is loud, sloppy, full of vibes, easy, numbing, unserious, disposable, contorts your true heart and mind. And the other side is disciplined, demanding, intentional, uncomfortable, but fulfills the original dream in its fullness. The impact of it is undeniable. There is no third option because he cannot be both anymore. It's either he chooses to be the frog or the prince, the blue pill or the red pill. He has to pick one. He cannot be both anymore. He cannot be 1 foot in and 1 foot out anymore. He has to make a choice now. He has to make a choice. The mud or the palace, right? And I said the Autotune alcohol hero is the Frog and Trey Songz. And the pioneer prince of VA is the trailblazer, the chain breaker, the pioneering musician, the real Trey Songz. He either chooses to be in the matrix or out of the matrix, but he cannot be both anymore. He cannot be both anymore. If he chooses the matrix, we cannot follow him. But if he chooses to be anti-matrix and he chooses the high road and to become a person of musical authority, we can follow that. We can follow that. We can support that. But if he chooses this matrix stuff for himself and for the music, we cannot follow him. We cannot support that. And look at this. Look at this. No one wants to see their musician like this. No one wants to see their musician like this. This is very selfish, but I'm telling him to pick anti-matrix. I'm telling him to pick being the prince again. Okay. And I gave you the differences here. It's actually a very long table, but I did give you the differences here, and you can see it's a striking difference, and you can see what we actually need from him, right? So the frog gives us soulless fragments of noise, but the prince treats his gifts like the legacy it is. And I said he can choose whatever he likes, but a choice has to be made. He cannot be 1 foot in and 1 foot out anymore. And I said, no one wants to live in a world without the original VA-flavored, soulful, pioneering Trey Songz. We are exhausted, we are frustrated, we are tired of Trey Songz. We need Trey Songz, the real Trey Songz. And I said he's too comfortable and complacent as a frog. You know, the word complacent is very funny. Because I remember, as a child, Trey said this on the My Moment episodes. He said something like, people get comfortable when they're complacent, or complacency brings in comfortability and people stop pursuing their dreams. He said this on the My Moment episodes, right? And I remember he used the word complacent because I had to go and look in the dictionary, because we didn't have phones and stuff at the time, right? I had to go and look in the dictionary to find what the word complacent means, because I didn't understand what it meant, right? And I remember he said this. When people get comfortable, they become complacent. Complacency sets in. Something like that, he said. Right? And now, he's doing the same thing that he said he didn't want to do. Okay. And I said, as the frog, we're going in circles, partying and depression, destroying his health and dream. Without the music interacting with real life, no one can hear him or take him seriously. Without emotional depth, no one can relate to it enough. And I said it's very strange for a person with a soul voice to not have anything of substance to say to us on the songs. And I said without his unique voice and without innovating, the music is not beautiful enough. And he cannot defend this music. I said as a fan, we need him to be the prince. We need him to be the prince. We need him to be the prince. And I said, what message are you giving to young people who looked at you and started believing in their own dreams because they saw you pursue yours with perseverance? What message are you giving when you press pause on your own purpose? And I said, there's no reason for him to give up on this dream. There's no reason. And I was ranting some more. And I gave a diagram here, a mind map of the growth we want to see from him, right? So I did a mind map kind of thing, and I gave you that. You can see it on the blog. And I wrote a poem too. Actually prose. And this is the part I want to read for you, right? I said, it's the soul in the pen, and it seems like yours jumped off the seat. into ponds you were never meant to swim in. Lips that praised God, now tongue kissing where the sin's living. Yeah, you say it all in the music. It's no longer thrilling. No one can say that I'm tripping. He keeps it on the fast lane, dead end nighttime spinning. He makes real music feel forbidden. So you can read the rest of it. It's prose. It's really long because I just be writing, but it's really long. It's just prose. And I also gave a humanistic and philosophical lens of what I assume is frustrating him at this point. And it's really it's just a conspiracy. It's just a conspiracy, right? But I put it in there because maybe it will help somebody. Maybe it'll help somebody. And I put that. But the thing is that this hyperfixation on relying on exteriority and physicality to fix the problems that are inside does not solve the problems that are inside. And I said that's the wrong tune to the wrong song, Mr. Songz. The outside things cannot fix the inside problems. The emotional, mental, and inner issues cannot be solved by anything that's outside. Okay. Inside problems need to be addressed inside. Right. So I just gave you some philosophical stuff here of things that I think about. I'm a much better writer than a speaker, obviously, because I get very tangible with it. But that's what it is. That's what it is. That's how I feel we are. That's what I feel we are, and that's what is showing us in the music, and we don't want this. We don't want him to be like this. We want a healthy musician, vibrancy, full of musical essence and pureness. The original essence. Alright. I'll post more on the blog so you can check it out, but I'll leave the links in the description. Right. Take care of yourself. Bye. Bye, bunnies.